Every one of us knows that we need to exercise, and it's especially critical in midlife. But what if you're in a slump? What if you're not in a routine? How do you start? How do you get motivated? So, we're going to talk today to two fitness experts who are going to give us some tips about what women should be doing to maintain their health, especially women over a certain age. Now, my first guest is Kerstin Schulze. She is a very successful comedic actor, something I'm going to geek out about in a few minutes. But she's also the founder of Party and Diet, an elite personal training program and innovative fitness company that specializes in short, effective workouts tailored to busy professionals, which so many of us need something like that. She has a holistic and longevity based approach to health, which is so important to women in midlife. It's not just one size fits all. And she understands the challenges of maintaining vitality, strength, and balance during this transitional stage in life. Kirsten, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Amanda. Lucky
So,
and happy to be here.
well, so glad to talk to you. Fitness is one of my biggest platforms because I am such a big exerciser and I love talking about it because I know a lot of women are trying to figure out what works for them, right? Especially in this stage of life. So you have a really interesting background. We're going to get into that in a minute with your career, your acting career. But I want to talk about how you got involved in athletics because you started very young, right? You were a junior Olympic athlete in Germany. So, talk about kind of the beginning of that and how that kind of set you on a path.
My beginning was in Berlin, Germany, and I was always into fitness or into movement. I didn't know I was doing fitness at the time. I just knew it felt good and I liked it. And I liked anything that made me feel good. And to me, running sprints was my go-to. I loved it. And whenever there was a class in academics that was canceled and we had to do sports, I was in heaven. And I just loved movement. I had a rough upbringing as a child, and movement and fitness was really my therapy. It was my go-to to feel good about myself, to let out any stress I had. Until this day, when I have severe anxiety, which I think happens to us all every day, I go work out. I just feel so good. I've never heard anybody heard say after they worked out that they don't feel good. Me, I just fell in love with track and then was offered to run in the Berlin Olympics in heptathlon. So I did 7 different disciplines: high jump, far jump, chapeau, 200, 400s, relay, and I'm missing one. It was so long ago. But I loved it, and I almost got the gold medal by 1 point. Claudia
Wow.
beat me. I will never forget. No,
We don't forget those early, what we think are failures when we realize we really learned something from them. But at the time, it feels so profound, right? You know,
yeah,
it's interesting that you talk about we didn't know what fitness was, right? I mean, that wasn't a word that was used. I'm not sure how old you are. I'm in my late 50s. And,
I'm 51.
okay, so you're a little bit younger, but I never heard that word until I got older. And for me, I had the opposite effect. I wasn't good at team sports, so I thought, well, I'm not athletic because nobody had introduced me to exercise for health, right? Until I became an adult. And then I went, wow, there's something here that makes me feel good, and makes me feel comfortable in my body. Now, curious, I'm going to hit some other stuff, but I want to know, do you still run? Because that's a big thing for women at a certain age. They start to go, oh, I don't know if I can run anymore.
I still do sprints till this day. I do
Wow.
sprints in the sand. I do sprints on the track. I have a whole track workout that I actually believe in that I do with my clients, and I recommend highly. Especially if you're in menopause, especially if you're having hormonal problems, it actually balances you. It helps you to build more muscle. If you're doing sprints or jumps, very good for bone density, ankle strength, stability. So till this day, I believe in sprints.
Wow, that's great. I'm a long distance runner. And of course, that's created a lot of problems in my body.
Mm.
At 58, I have to really think about what I do and how I do it. And I've slowed down a lot. So eventually, you got a business degree, you went through formal theater training, you came to Los Angeles. How did you get your first acting job? I mean, how did you go from being this great athlete to saying, oh, I think I want to try acting?
Well, Going back to Germany, when I was 15, I started writing my own sketches, and I was in a theater group, and I was touring, and I did a lot of improv. And I did a musical. So I always had that with me. I always wanted to be on stage and in front of the camera. I just didn't have the support in Germany to do that, except for school. In high school, I had an amazing theater teacher. And so with her, she took me outside of the world and told my parents she has this super talent. You have to nourish it. And my mother thought that acting was not a real career and you need to have a real job. So I got a business degree and worked for AOL CompuServe. And then when I came here, I just didn't want to work for the corporate world anymore. And my the way I got into acting here was through my body. So I Bobby Ball was my first agency. It's an athletic agency. They do a lot of commercials and so on. And my physicality is actually what got me my first jobs because I didn't have any network here. I didn't have parents that I could get me into a role. I wasn't born into the industry. And I this got a job. My first job was cars.com. And then I had Vegas.com, and I had a big billboard in Vegas of me on TV. So my segue into acting was really commercials. And then I was so good with comedic timing, and commercials are very comedic a lot of
Yeah,
times. And
absolutely.
so it just led from one to another. And then I got American Horror Story and Flake 2 and other things. But I think by now I've done, I think, 17 national commercials.
Wow, that's incredible. And this is the part I'm going to geek out on. So I know you've done a lot of high profile things, but the show that I am loving right now that you're in is the Righteous Gemstones. For those of you who don't know it, got to watch it. I think this is season 4, right?
Season 4
Yeah.
on HBO. Yes.
And it on Max, and it's set, actually it was filmed in South Carolina, in Charleston, South Carolina, which is in a couple hours from us. And it is about this evangelical family and kind of all of the crazy stuff that they experience, and the characters are great. What was it like working with that group of characters?
A dream come true. Absolutely dream come true. I There was a moment I remember being on set, and I play the kung fu nanny. I'm playing Sola, opposite of Baby Billy and Valen Hall. But I was on set after we had the fight scene and everything in episode 4. And I remember we were filming and everybody was there, from with Walton Goggins, John Goodman, Danny McBride. I mean, the whole cast was there. And if you haven't watched it, I mean, the cast is phenomenal. And I thought to myself, wow, I did it. I'm here and I'm experiencing this. I mean, I wanted to pinch myself and just, I think we need to take a moment and take it in and say, wow, I'm doing it. All these years of training and passion and believing and going for it and not thinking that I'm too old, and being 51 and being on set and doing this was the most amazing, thrilling experience and a dream come true. And they were all so freaking funny and nice and welcoming. And it's truly like a family. It's amazing.
I think I heard this in a podcast the other day with Amy Poehler, that one of the things that women don't do is take stock and take credit for their achievements. That so often we just say, "Oh, it was a team effort," but you worked really hard, right, to get there, and that's a huge accomplishment. Anybody that you really connected with or bonded with, especially through comedy, in that cast?
Valen Hall. I love her. I love her heart. I love her. She plays Anne Tiffany, and she's really a really super genuine person. Tony Cavallero, and because I worked with them so closely, it was our, uh, Tony's very much into fitness, and we had a big connection on that. And I had Sean Williams. I actually didn't know him. I knew I knew when I saw him the first time, and the way I saw him at the hotel. I was outside. I didn't know what entrance to go to, and he guided me to where I need to go. Um, And then I went to the gym to work out, and he was there. And I said, "Do you mind my music?" He said, "No, no, not at all." So we worked out three times, and I did not
Did
know
not know who he
who he
was.
was.
And
And yeah, I thought he was just a Marine, And I remember when I did episode 4, and we were at this lake house, and he was in the green room, and in the waiting room where we all sat. I walked up to him, and it's like, "Wait, I know you." And he's like, "Wait, I know you." And we knew each other from working out, but we didn't
right.
know. And here we
No,
were on set filming together. So it was a very organic, fun
right.
experience. And then I loved Edie Patterson. I think she is a genius. I just her improv skills are just off the charts.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it would be so fun. Anything surprise you about the experience or anybody that was different than you thought they would be?
No, no, not really. No. I mean, some people are more busier in their mind than others, but everybody was super cool and super exciting to be with and super polite. So I had no bad experience with anybody.
Busy in mind. That's a great phrase because I would definitely describe myself as being busy in my mind, which is why I love fitness so much. Tell me about your business. So you have excuse me, it's Party and Diet Elite Physical Training. So how did you start it and what's the focus?
So I started my fitness when I competed myself, and I started a gym. I opened a gym called Elite Personal Training Gym. And the reason why I started it is because people started asking me for advice constantly. And I thought to myself, well, if I give advice and help people, I might as well have a place where they can come to.
Sure.
And that's how it really started. It found me. And it did. It's not like I said, "Oh, I want to be a trainer and I want to do this." And but before I started training people, I really wanted to be certified, and I went to college for it and got a degree in nutrition and fitness and TRX, and did all the things that were interesting to me, that I wanted to know and have the knowledge of. And then I started Party and Diet out of people always told me, "Oh, you must be not having a social life because you're always in shape." And I love dancing. I love having a good time. I love having the glass of champagne on the weekend and have my bagels and have my pizza. And I don't limit myself just because I want to be in shape. Now I've learned balance on how to keep it, and that's what I'm teaching. I'm teaching with my Party and Diet how you can have a social life, how you can travel, how you can have fun and still be in shape with small changes.
Yeah, that's great. And I made a bunch of those changes in the last 2 years since I left a really stressful full-time job. And it's a huge combination of things. Just like you said, it's exercise, it's diet, it's moderation, it's all of those things. So many women in midlife, especially women going through menopause, start to not feel great about themselves. They look in the mirror, they don't recognize themselves, and they're not happy with their bodies. I mean, I was looking at an old clip yesterday from like 2.5 years ago of me, and I went, oh my gosh, I can't believe I was wearing that dress. I didn't feel like I looked good. And again, I've done a lot of work since then. But how do you approach women who are in that space and try to help them kind of get over that hurdle?
Well, I come from a place of experience because I every year since my 40th I do a photo shoot for myself because I believe you need to celebrate yourself and whatever makes you feel good. And to me, taking pictures and feeling good in my own skin was one of those. And I remember last year when I was 50 and turned 50, something changed. And no, it was 51. My 51 hit last year because I'm going to be 52 this year. It was my skin all of a sudden was not as tight, and I was holding more water, and I was like, something's happening. I already was going through irregular periods, and now I've hadn't had my period in over a year, so I'm in full throttle of menopause. I'm allowed to officially say it. It's like a badge of honor here.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
but it was a change. It was like it was really messing with my mind as far as, whoa, how can I handle it? And then I took a step back and said, okay, let me take a look at what I'm doing. And I really think that it can, if you don't take action, it can make you depressed. And we look at being ageless, right? And it doesn't really exist, but we can slow it down, right? And I feel like what is ageless to me is the way I feel, is the way I behave, is the way I think of myself, my positiveness, and and also how I'm helping my system. And so I found out that if I do a copper peptide, it helps my skin. It has done wonders for my skin. And if I do some DHEA S supplementation or some boron supplementation, so I've been studying what my second menopause means to me, and not my second menopause, my second puberty means to me, and a lot of affirmations, slowing down because the fog brain is real. I had to learn, okay, I'm going through all these hormonal changes, and my body needs love and a little more reassurance, a little bit more understanding of what I'm going through. So basically, I'm relearning my body right now. And I think when you look at it as relearning instead of thinking, "Oh, it's over, I'm falling apart. I don't have no chance of getting back into shape." I think that's when you give up. And I think you have to be really careful not to listen to that negative set of mind, which it goes on 24/7 a day. We have to constantly talk to ourselves, especially going through menopause, because you will be get more tired. But it's okay. A lot of women don't even know that they're supposed to sleep 9 to 10 hours. We've been trained so long that, oh, we can get away with 6 hours. No, that's actually not true. Men, all the studies have been done on men. They can sleep 6 to 8 hours and get away with it. Women need to sleep 9 to 10 hours, and we need recovery time. We need to slow down, but we have learned to wear all these hats, and now all of a sudden, time says, "Well, you can't wear all those hats."
Right. You can't do it all at the same time.
Right.
You know, it's interesting when you said ageless, what does it mean to you? So, what I define it as when I go and talk to groups is it means I'm not going to be defined by my age. So, whether I'm 50 something or 30 something, don't say I'm not old enough to do something or I'm too old to do something. So, I kind of define it for all women as, I'm not a number. I'm who I am. And I thought what was interesting, you talked about slowing down. So my experience as a runner was that I was starting to get a lot of injuries. And I had been doing boot camps and running my whole life without injuries. And then I started to get injuries. And so I started getting really intentional about yoga because I said, I've got to stretch and I'm not doing it. And I need more stretching than just the 2 minutes I do. And that changed a lot of things for me. In addition to that, I added in a dance class because I said, I need to have some fun. I mean, I enjoy running. I have social running groups, I have biking groups, I have hiking groups, but I wanted to have just something fun. And so that's why I took a dance class. Talk a little bit about how the different seasons of our lives we have to evolve with our fitness, right? It's not one thing for our whole life.
Oh, absolutely. I Everybody that comes to me, I always take a look at their age, their heritage, their DNA. What is in their DNA, and then their lifestyle. And a lifestyle, if it's very stressful, I have to do a different exercises because we will have to be careful with the cortisol levels. The age makes a
Yes.
difference. If I am in 20s and 30s, my testosterone levels and all my hormones are completely different, so I can push my body differently. But like you said, so smart of you to start stretching, because we get tight. And then when you get tight, it starts pulling on your joints. And then you're starting to run out of balance because you're trying to adjust how you're running. And then you just injuring yourself. And stretching, I think, is very, very important. The older we get, the more we need to stretch. When we're younger, we're so limber.
Yeah, we can
Everything is
do
limber. We don't
anything.
have to think about stretching. But the older we get, everything gets a little bit more stiffer. everything gets a little bit drier. So we have to create fluid. Like I drink hydrololic acid because I think it's good for my joints. I do take my creatine and certain supplements that I didn't even think about taking when I was younger because my body was producing NAD naturally. Now I have to take NAD. So it's just things that are different. And exercise wise too, we have more wear and tear. We have shoulder injuries. We have wear and tear in our shoulders. The rotators are maybe a little more cranky. The lower back is
Mm-hmm.
a little more tired. The knees have wear and tear. It's just like a car that's been driving for 50 years. It just needs tune-ups. It needs a different care. And I use exercises now to rehab my shoulder or my knees, to strengthen my joints and to help it to heal faster while I'm still staying in shape. But the exercise, so I do a lot of functional strength training because I believe that the movement in it is what we do on a daily basis and what we need for walking, hiking, going upstairs, getting off out of a car, everyday things.
Do you see women who come in and say, I can't do this? And you see the potential, so you have to kind of talk them through it.
Yes. I mean, the first thing I always say, let's jump. And they're like, I can't jump. I say, yes, you can. But how high? So I put them on a trampoline. Start jumping on a trampoline and get that feeling of exhilaration of the muscle again. But the first thing people tell me, I can't jump. And jumping is actually really important. Now, if you have a shifted disc in your lower back or anything like that, we can't do that. But we can do other things that you can do an assistant step up, or you can do a seated squat coming up and putting your dumbbells over your head. Now you're accelerating the muscles. So it's all depends on your injury, obviously. But if you don't have lower back and you have you just have minor things that are aching, you can, and it will jump and it will actually help you to get stronger and better.
I think I heard from one of my teachers recently that your ability to get up off the ground without using your hands, so like if you're in some kind of a squat, is directly related to longevity. That's a really important skill to be able to just come up from the ground. And I'm always giving excuses like I'm not going to be able to do this today because da 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 da, but there's so many things you can do to modify, right?
Absolutely. I have a 73-year-old gentleman who had hip surgery, and he, in the beginning, always wanted to hold on to things. It's like, you're not allowed to hold on. You have to get up without holding on. So I've been training him to get up or little squats. Like when you drop your soap in the shower, a 73-year-old man that had hip surgery, and you can't pick up your soap, that's a problem. So how do we train those muscles? So we're thinking of longevity now. So I think when we hit 50 going up, now we just want to be able to move. We just want to be able to feel strong enough. Yeah, the side effects is that you're gonna look great, but really it's more about how you're gonna feel and how you maneuver around.
Okay, so I'm going to address the elephant in the middle of the room. If somebody's Googling you right now, they're looking at your pictures going, oh my God, she's gorgeous. I can't ever look like that. And, I know that feeling. You go to an exercise class or you go to a trainer and they look great. And you're like, well, I can't achieve that. But I would assume you would say to them, look, it's just hard work, right? You keep it up.
It's discipline. Yeah. You want a big bank account, you're gonna work. It's discipline. You want a great body, you just gotta put in the work. How badly do you want it? Absolutely. People always wait for motivation and it doesn't exist. Motivation is the idea of you saying, I want to look like that. Discipline is taking action. And it doesn't have to be an hour or 2 hours a day. You can if you do 10 minutes a day, 7 days a week, you be amazed what the body does in those 10 minutes. And then you can build on that, obviously. But if you are a beginner, you have never done anything, and you say, oh, I could never look like that, don't look at the big mountain. Look at the smaller. I had to start somewhere. I didn't always look like that. I had to start and go to the gym or go work out at home. I bear two children, and I remember I had a C-section, and I had to get back and wanted to get back in shape. I didn't have to. And I got myself back in shape in 5 months. But I ran, and then I felt like, oh, the incisions are going to open, and I stopped, and then I ran again. And so I wanted it. How
You're
badly
committed.
do
Yeah.
you want it? And you have to be committed to yourself. Like anything in life, if you really want it, you will commit to it, and you will focus on it so hard that nothing else matters.
Bet on yourself for sure. I love that.
We only
Um,
get one body.
it's true. And it takes us through a lot, right? So we need to treat it well. Um, how can people follow what you're doing?
You can find me on my Instagram, Party and Diet. And there I showcase what I do with my clients, their results, their successes, also how I work out myself and what I believe in. And I'm all about balance mentally, physically, and in your relationships when it comes to your friends, finance, and so on. But really, it's all about fitness there. And then you can go on my website, partyanddiet.com, and I have plans for people that want to go to the gym. I have plans for people that don't want to go to the gym and just traveling a lot and want to be at home. And I have a workout there for people that want to understand well, if I would try to run and do sprints, or I want to do some plyometrics, what would that look like? And it's like a nice segue into adding something new to you.
Well, that all sounds great. Thank you so much for spending time with me and my audience today. I know they learned a lot. Like I said, this is one of my favorite topics, but also your acting stuff is pretty fascinating to me as well. So thank you so much. You're lovely and a lot of great advice.
Thank you so much, Amanda.